This is Swaiba, the Audible African Woman, where we reclaim what it is to be young, woman, and black in today's world. I'm your host, Nyambura Mudia. This week in Being Young, Woman, and Black, we are honoring an ally, Naomi Rao, who unfortunately recently passed on from COVID-19. Naomi was a diplomat and the first secretary of the Belgium embassy who used her power and privilege to convene feminist and human rights spaces and also amplify the struggle of grassroots causes. She was a pussy power diplomat convener, and that is to say that she used her power to critique diplomatic approaches to human rights and feminism. So today's topic, we are unpacking Kenyan classist feminism. And the best person to have this conversation with is Rachel Mikali, who is the convener of Pussy Power. And I'm so excited because since I met Rachel, my feminism is better. And so, Rachel, I'll throw it to you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nyambura, and for convening this space where we can talk radical feminist organizing. And like the way you said, yes, I'm from Adare, and a Pan-African feminist, an apologetic one, and troublemaker.
Yes, that is what I know you about.
Troublemaker. And I convene a social movement called Coalition for Grassroots Human Rights Defenders Kenya, which is a network of grassroots activists, feminist activists, and community organizer, where we are the ones also leading the Pussy Power team in Kenya. It has been crazy, but also it's such an honor that also we are taking today podcast also to honor Naomi Rao, who was also our diplomatic Pussy Power convener, and she was the first secretary of Belgium, the way you had also gave an introduction. And may her soul rest in peace.
Amen.
And I will live to celebrate her and our work. But also, I'm happy the fact that we are discussing about Pussy Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this space where when we were doing a lot of organizing, when we started, it was crazy. And most people used to not wanting to associate with us. But at least now in 2021, everybody wants to associate with us.
Yeah.
And Pussy
radical
Power.
Feminism, yeah.
Yeah, radical feminist work, yeah.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that, because I remember the first time I met you and it was a political meeting and everyone, when you entered, everyone started chanting Pussy Power. And I was like, I was taken aback because I think for the longest time, my type of feminism was very conservative. And of course, we'll get to that because I come from the church. I'm a budding theologian who is expecting to one day have a collar. So there's a way I saw you as if you were almost threatening my place as a feminist, because I was like, but I don't want to be associated with this. So, but now understanding what you do, my God, yes, Pussy Power.
Yeah.
But tell me, why the radical messaging?
So I'll have to give a brief on how we started. And it was a co-thinking between myself and another Swedish student called Brenda. But for her, it was just this idea of we want to do a project in school. And she used to study at the Swedish school. And for me, I was like, Pussy Power is not a project. It's my daily struggle. It's our daily struggle as women in Kenya, where we are fighting also to be respected when it comes to different opportunities, our rights, and also especially looking rights on an intersectionality perspective.
Yes.
And also being in feminist spaces, I felt that it was really important because most of the time when we speak up, our biology is usually used against us, like our vagina and our pussy. So I felt it's the right timing in terms of having this discussion and coming with a very confrontational word that will make people speak and patriarchy disturbed and not sleep. And also, and in mind, I was like, also it's an opportunity of also having the sisters, also your patriarchy princesses, being part of this discussion. And it's like using the church version of recruiting new fellows or followers of the movement. But in a manner that we can sit down and have discussions. What does it mean being a woman when you evaluate at the same time you're being dehumanized? What does it mean when we have seen there's been a lot of femicide cases, but still the perpetrator gets humanized and
there's always an explanation.
And which disturbs me a lot. Yes. But ideally, it was like, let's, because mostly when you talk about feminists, also it's usually seen as a middle class struggle. I was like, no, this has to come from Madare, huko chini kwa vijiji, where all of us as community will own it. So when we did the first football tournament, we had Madare team and Swedish team and community, and also our chief was present. Our local community chief,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
organizing. That's
yeah,
true
she was
organizing.
present. And at the same time, like
Is it
selling
a
even
he or a she?
she.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that you guys have a
but you
chief.
also can imagine in Madaren being in uniform, and this Kenyan government, how patriarchal it is.
Yes.
But at least now with GF, we are seeing some sort of improvement, which we'll talk.
Yeah.
So, but having that moment, because also for me, I like coming with crazy things people feel they don't talk about or feel they don't want to associate. So even like selling the idea to our team, they're like, "Hey, Rachel, you think you bring these things that even it's hard for us." But I'm happy also, thanking also Naomi, even if she's not present, but her spirit is present. That we have, it has been those works of sleepless nights, of disrupting spaces, being called out names, being even like some, like this is the thing also, like I feel as a young Black feminist, especially coming from other, there's different layers when you look in terms of vulnerability. Like when you come from informal settlement and you don't have this privilege of education or resources or not speak English. But nowadays I've taught myself at least to speak English. You can feel that. Because I realize also English
It's
can also be used as a form of oppression
it's true.
and closing spaces.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Mekali, you have to teach yourself.
That is
To
true. And
omoka in these spaces, kidogo,
you,
So like seeing that now we can be able and being owned by community members, even if mainstream, even women rights organizations used to bash us a lot.
yeah.
I've seen there are women that I know are leading women rights organization that I've been able to tell us we're using very bad names for advocacy. And we're like, this is not about indigenization of struggle, women's struggle. It's our struggle, and we know why we called ourselves Pussy Power.
That is true.
And
you
also
should not
like
be patronized.
exactly. And we're like, but now also they want to associate with us.
Because you have made impact now, and that there's a following, there's a real following, and people can finally see what it is you're doing. There's two things you mentioned. You mentioned about pandering to patriarchy in terms of women who are actually used to be patriarchy princesses and the damage they do to the movement.
Yeah.
And you also talked about the privilege that all of us have and don't realize that we have. And so I think I want one to unpack, because we see when you go to Kenyans on Twitter, there are a lot of people who now brand themselves as feminist, but if you ask more, they're actually pandering to patriarchy, which means that the work you and I will do is taken away by other people who do not have the interests of women but look like they do have the interests of women. And then secondly is that when we talk about middle class in politics in Kenya, we talk about the middle class in Kenya in the way they have the privilege to be oblivious because they can afford good schools. But it's that even good schools and good hospitals, and therefore they do not really care about the wage as it is. But in feminism, when you talk about intersection, in feminism, it's also that we're seeing that the women who have power, but are not using that power to lessen the burden of women and girls in Kenya. I would want you to perhaps help us unpack those two things.
And I think one thing that we have to be clear, Nyambura, is that like all of us, and that's why I respect a lot of feminists that do the real work without budgets. Because when you look in terms of the work fighting women rights, and now you look in terms of intersectionality, which also includes LGBTQ rights, it comes with a lot of risk and threats. And I'm not like I don't usually want to say I'm a marking scheme of feminism or anything. I respect anybody who call themselves feminist, but I'm like in terms of ideology and politics, does it translate to feminist values and approach?
Yeah.
And when I mean feminist values and approach, it's also practice. And this one I have to be very clear that I'm not telling all of us to be poor and to live in Madare. That's not feminism.
No.
But at the same time, I'm like, in whichever privilege you sit in, whether you are the budget holder or the power holder, and you claim to be a feminist, how do you do like your reciprocative solidarity in terms of the receipt? Like the way you go and buy a product and then you get the receipt. So how are you able to say, based on my feminist value, this is the work I've been able to do to support the women in whichever capacity they are, and in whatever they are doing. And to be precise, even within our Coalition for Grassroots, Human Defend, and Pussy Power, those are the discussions we usually have. That first, we need to acknowledge that women, we are not homogeneous.
We are not homogeneous.
We are not homogeneous.
And that is one thing that people I think need to understand.
We love sex workers. We love women who are also like running for office, political position, even in local community.
That is true.
We love women and girls that also are fighting violence against women.
Yeah,
We'll have women and girls that also we are in the space of sexual reproductive health and rights,
that is true.
fighting to have access to safe abortion
That
because
is
we are
true.
losing a lot of women due to unsafe abortion.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is that when you are having to sit in this space, how do you bring in our different power without judging each other?
That is true.
But not forgetting about personal accountability, not just accountability on where we just say it's an institution, but you as a person, you're able to feel like in one way or another have contributed the movement to reach to this level
Yeah.
without also oppressing the way patriarchy are oppressing. And also to me, what I understand, and that's why I don't believe in the notion that women are their own enemies, but I know
No.
that not all women are pro women.
Yes.
Because also if they're benefiting
From
from
the
the
system.
patriarchy, from the
Yeah.
system that is oppressing other women, how sure are we? And maybe also they have been socialized in a space whereby they've been made to think men have the final say.
And men are the standard of humanity or
Exactly.
excellence.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it's a point that I believe it needs to, like even within Pusipa, that's what the things we discuss. Like having political education to understand I'm not free when Nyambura, you're not free.
Yes.
But you see, also it feels bad sometimes. We are fighting for our sisters. We are fighting for a just community, a society that everybody is treated equally, and then the credit doesn't go to us. The
Mm.
credit goes to the ones that you're saying have good English. They can say I'm feminist, blah blah blah, or they can pronounce words in certain way better
Yeah.
than
Or
you,
they have access to such spaces.
or to such spaces.
Yeah.
So you find it waters and it drains you when you feel you're doing this work and your work is never recognized. And this one I have to be very clear with the something that I've observed this year. And looking the work we have done with Pusipa and feminist organizing, bringing the feminist discussion, even national media, some of us getting abused and being threatened
Mm.
because of saying I am a feminist and claiming and even calling out oppressive power and structure that works against women and girls.
Yeah.
But now, after the GF launch, Generation Equality Forum, where we have seen, at least I was
Everyone.
telling a friend also who worked on it, Catherine Nyambura, that when I used to say, when people ask me, what's your vision for this country? And I'm like, I want Kenya to be a feminist government with feminist values and principle.
Yeah.
Now seeing a
That was
document,
far-fetched.
yeah, people were like, you're crazy. It's
Yeah.
impossible in Kenya. It will never happen. But now seeing this Kenyan document, 2021,
A lot of feminist language.
a lot of feminist language where they're recognizing like the girl learn feminism, feminist leadership in Kenya.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we are almost there, but not there. But how genuine and how are they going to implement?
Yes.
And now seeing, I'm not saying like the way I said, that's also like the accountability part of also like recognizing, especially Black young women. We do the lot of work and the intellectual labor. Now seeing the organizations and spaces and people that used to be against feminists now calling themselves feminists.
And
That's where
reaping
also
from it.
and getting investment and funding
The
for it
benefits from it.
and
Yeah.
benefits
Yeah.
and denying the young feminists that have been doing this work those resources and privilege. For me, that's not feminism. I'll
Yeah.
not
That
say
is not
it's feminist
feminism.
because also you're using the same cards of the patriarchs that we fight for every day
Yes.
to defeat.
Yes.
Now you're also like oppressing the
It's a
young
layer.
ones.
It's a layer of oppression.
Oppression.
Yeah.
And also seeing now, especially the credit that we can't. Yes, I respect the women who came before us and did a lot of work. I respect them with like creating that space for us. But we need also to give credit to the young feminists that have
Feminists and the
done the
people,
work
or
in
even
this
the
country.
local. Yeah. Or the
In local-
young local.
Yeah.
The non-English speakers.
Exactly.
Feminists. The people who cannot write a proposal.
Yeah, the people that in a community level they'll say mi nafeel mi ni feminists because naweza sahi enda kujitafutia contraceptive bila kuuliza
Exactly.
chali yangu ama bwana yangu.
Because that's the essence. That's the whole point of feminism.
Exactly.
That people, young girls and women, have agency.
Yeah.
Right.
The other ones, like I remember like some of the stories also we relate with even within our organizing in different informal settlement and part of the country when we are even like I usually say when I look back, I feel I'm those women that when you're growing up, most of our family members and community will say, don't be like this auntie of yours or that woman in the community who doesn't have kids or she's not married, who smokes cigarettes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm that current woman who people used to bash before because she at that level we didn't have this understanding that she was fighting her own choice and agency in terms of being who she was and choosing not to get married.
That is true, and it's also what you were talking about in terms of how I grew up and how I conceived feminism, because I conceived feminism in a very different space. So for me, those things that you said in terms of smoking, in terms of not getting married, it was almost equated to a sin,
Exactly.
right? It's almost, and you even today, in speaking about feminism in traditional or churchy or religious spaces, it's almost that you have to curate it to the language where you don't look like you're defiant. But it's that the defiance you're talking about is about your own humanity. It's about it's not when you go to rights. It's choices. It's very personal choices that should not be what's the word, prescribed by any institution or any person. But before I lose the track of thoughts, I want us to go back to, there's something you said about the uprising of feminism, and how whilst it's good to have a whole country and a whole framework speak in feminist language, it's that we are not it's not translating to either donor money getting to grassroots organizations, or even the projects that the government is purposing for women and girls. It's not reaching the beneficiaries as it should. What is there anything for us to do, or do we just watch it like everything else? What do we
No,
do?
should not watch it. I think that's the thing also, like Naomi used to inspire me a lot.
Yeah.
Like creating spaces within diplomatic
Yeah.
and convening even diplomats and telling them why it's important and why they need to move beyond their privilege and do work that they purport to be supporting in practical. And also like the fact any space that she knew that it will translate even because the fact also her wearing and saying pussy power and being the first secretary or posting even within the Belgium embassy, it made a lot of sense.
That is true, because even when you told me she was the convener of Pussy, I was like, she was?
Yeah, she was. And she'll do like a lot of our work, even within the local community level. She'll never put this face that I'm a diplomat, so I should not mingle.
Yeah.
So you see, that's for me, that's like how we need to also like open up a space and bring in people without judging them and saying, this is the privilege I am, how best can I use?
Use it.
For me, there's this thing I don't like with most people when they ask, what can I do? I'm like, but you have skills, you have space. You're also the person who decides where the money goes and where the money doesn't go. So give us money. Like for her, she used to do that. She'll never ask you, what do you want? If we say we are planning a convening and we don't have money, she'll contribute from even our own pocket.
Yeah.
Not from the program.
That's commitment and solidarity.
Yeah, like if we say we want to go somewhere, should like, because I remember even during this time of COVID, we were like, we have done a fundraising with different partners on socioeconomic rights, on feminist economy, but we don't have money for training. And she was like, I'm sending my contribution. At least the women can have
that's
refreshment and snacks when you're having the training. And if there's any way I can help, let me know. But also you can share, and then I share with other people. And friends,
like fundraise,
like that's what should do even more, and convene even cocktails, introducing you to people, which I give a lot of credit to, and will miss her a lot. But I look to the point where like you're good in writing, how can you help the local communities who are doing feminist work to write?
Yeah, like how do you help an organization write proposals and put in
like
budgets?
And like for example, even with the feminist book club we're having with Michelle Modoni and the rest.
Oh, by the way, we have a feminist book club,
book club in Mathare, where we're having sisters like her and the ones who at least have gone to school, mixing with the ones that are in our local communities, exchanging ideas and ways on how to even write their CVs. Not majority of us have been taught how to write CVs. So the moment you see those are little things that don't matter, they matter. They matter a lot, a big way.
Yeah.
The fact also we are able to say, this is how we do campaign, or this is how we do social media. It helps a lot. It's not taken for granted. And especially when it comes to local organizing within the local community, it's intense.
That's true.
Because also, when you're dealing, especially calling out patriarchs, is not an easy job.
Yeah, and you're actually punished for it, which brings me to the next question. Why is it that what you say that women are not homogeneous, and but there's also something you said about earlier in terms of the women's biology being used against them. But it's the combination of there's a lot of rhetoric of women can be everything they can, but it's that in the culture of patriarchy and masculinity is that when a woman is everything that she should be, she's actually punished for it.
Yeah.
So there's always even when we have this conversation, there's always something in your subconscious that says, will I be punished for this? And punishment comes in many ways. Sometimes you're denying a job for being as vocal. Sometimes you're denied grants. Sometimes you're also ostracized from spaces. I mean, how do we talk about empowerment as we talk about, yet women are punished for being what they should be, which is beautiful, exemplary, and brilliant.
And I think it's a very important question in terms of also looking the price and the sacrifice that comes with you speaking truth to power. And that's why I said it's a struggle that it's very painful and it's very tough if you don't have a strong support system. You can lose it and you can give up. And that's why for me, I usually say I thank to the people who have been there for me. When I'm in those moments, I'm crazy in my own way. I'm like, what the fuck is this going on? I'm not going to continue. But there are people who will be like, I trust you, I believe in you, and we got you. And we are grateful for what you do. Because most people forget that most of the work we do is not paid work.
No.
For organizing, like the organizing we do, even myself, around the feminist organizing, human rights organizing, is not paid that you'll say it's 8 to 5.
No.
Community expects you are like an ambulance. Anytime, any moment, it's we.
You actually did.
You can say the ambulance doesn't have fuel. So like, which sometimes we sit down with our team and I laugh. I'm like, well, you remember what we did during that time? Like, for example, when you're calling justice for Sharon, which like yesterday I was seeing the thread on how the case is going and I felt really disappointed. And I felt, and this one also I'm calling out on how the judiciary is handling the case. I just hope
at this point,
the new Chief Justice will look at it. We don't need to be in that point. We are normalizing violence.
And it's just not Sharon's case. I think it's every case that has been in.
And injustice, we should not be in that point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when we are doing this work, we need to acknowledge there are people who are paying with everything. The way Mau Mau fought for this
They're
country.
paying with their dear lives.
They paid with their dear lives. So if we are here to say we are together, and this is the thing also nowadays, I'll need to call it out. When we do a lot of feminist work and then we're being paid with kisses and hugs, that should stop. That should stop.
That is true.
Like, oh, my darling, I'm so proud
Hugs
of you.
and tags are not paying the bills.
They're not paying the bills, to be honest. And that's why you'll see like a lot of feminists and activists now, majority are going through depression, anxiety, or stress, because your landlord will never understand because I saw you on TV saying women power, pussy power. To my house, you'll tell me I'll pay you.
No. As a matter of fact, they actually expect more. Yeah.
They expect more than that.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to see, even for example, if you call Rachel into a space, the way you'll pay, let's say, I don't know how old you are, Nyambura.
Oh, you don't know.
Let me give an example.
You don't know how old I am. And your friend.
For
I
me,
am not
it is
so
not a
young,
factor.
but I'm not quite old.
So it's 16. But the fact, like, let's give an example. You're doing now radical work where you're bringing our conversation. And then people telling you, Nyambura, that was really good. I'm so proud. And some, maybe I had donors. I think they should pay you and ask you, how much money can I give? Can I give it to you? You continue doing.
But I think it also comes to the point of, for the longest time, the way capitalism is built upon. It's built on free labor and especially free women labor. So even when you are trying to correct that, it's that you are because I think feminist work is the least funded.
It's zero.
Right?
Like based on the report of AWID that came last month, it said that it's for the development aids cooperation money that comes to women's rights, it's 1%. So if you reduce it to women rights organizations and LGBTQ and feminist work is even the least one.
Yeah.
So it's like you expect the results, but you're not investing on it.
But I think it's also a strategy to make sure that the feminism work is not actually productive. And so it's just reduced into noise, because I think that's how oppression of women is retained, by not funding the things that should, help feminists in their work.
Yeah. And this also goes back, because I wanted to link it also with the intellectual labor. Like you call Mwekali into a space with a lived experience, which is personal struggle, my friend.
Yes. Like you lived through that.
Oppression.
Yes, you lived through that.
Here I come. You compensate an older woman than Mwekali, who's like 50. And then and I'm also coming with creative and innovative idea, you refuse to compensate my labor.
That's true.
And that's why nowadays even me I choose which space to go and which not to go, because if you're not compensating my labor and the work and the intellectual labor I'm bringing in, it's problem. Oh, and then you use, especially if you're a black woman, is also problematic because we're doing a favor for you.
This is it. A black young woman must refuse to travel to cities for nothing, for no money, or for the sake of an air ticket and a good hotel. You're worth a salary. You're worth a stipend that is fatter than just good blankets and nice wine, right? And
Yeah.
we women have to know that.
And then we're doing a favor for you. Which favor? And I've suffered
But
for
you came
all
to
my life.
Brussels.
I've not been to Brussels. I hope I'll go to Brussels.
No, what I'm saying, but it's not enough to make me travel in spaces, and you're not paying for the experience, as you say, the experience that I am bringing.
Yeah.
Because our stories, the stories of African women and young women specifically, have been used to make proposals feel better.
Yeah.
We've been used as PowerPoints, right, and poster children, but we do not get the money from it, and that's why I like what you said. We must refuse to be for our intellects to be.
And you see, for me, that's even the price, the way you ask the price. Me, I've been blacklisted with some majority of organizations.
Yeah.
I've been whitelisted in majority because of telling them, stop telling me or now, how you're grateful. Invest on our work. If you want me to also to continue doing more work.
Claps are not
and
helping.
also, claps are not more than enough. Because also what I've realized also as feminists, something we need to be very clear is to say not to be used as a poster girl. I must say also I'm talking to a point of privilege as a woman who is from Madare, that I can speak in English. I can know which space now to go and not to go. Before it wasn't that way.
Yeah,
So
you understand power relations better. Yeah.
At least now I'm understanding. And that's why even I'll choose to go in donor spaces where I'll tell the donors, no, this is not what it's working. This is what it's working. You cannot give us a drop in the water and then expect to do
in the ocean. Yeah.
And then
massive work.
Because I'm trying to link it with the now educated people in the space, where they'll say because you have a degree now we give you more money and you're not doing more work compared to, you don't need a PhD to do feminist work.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No.
And also at the same time, you don't need log framework to say I'm waiting the next woman to be abused in 10 minutes for me to take an action.
No, these are real life experiences.
Things happen fast. Yeah. And then if you say wait, it can't.
It's also that we cannot, some of these things in feminist work do not fall in what you said, log frameworks. It's not like you sit down and say, oh, tomorrow there will be 7 women who will be abused or 2 children. It's not that way. It's that you are a fast responder, right?
Yeah.
And it has to be seen like that. But I think the conversation about investment and how feminism work is done, my God, we are far than we should be. And
then also you put systems that automatic, especially for what I've realized, and this is also something I'm challenging donors and stakeholders, that stop putting structures that will not work for local organization. But you're willing to come to Madare, take a picture with Mwikali and post it as if you're investing in what I've even invested with my 10 bob in my pocket.
Yeah, that's being used.
You see?
It's right.
Yeah, and these are the things also, if also us, we are not holding donors, funders, and philanthropic accountable, and even our governments, then it means either knowingly we are contributing to our own oppression, or
that is true,
unknowingly. So this is a conversation even now, when now the GF money is coming, we need to know who is funding who for what work, for what purpose. And for me, I'm clearly, whoever also who have been continuing to blacklist me, I'll call them out. And I'll be telling you have never been doing feminist work.
But now you are
receiving. Now you're doing, is it the best you could do?
It's what happened to Mau Mau, right? People went to the forest, fought for this country, but they're not the people who got the land or any benefits in us. Most of those children, the children of Mau Maus will die as poor people, right? So it's the co-opting of movements, but also taking away the benefits of people who actually really deserve them, because simply you have better English or you are a friend to, the proximity of relationships. And I think that is what is going to happen. I don't know whether I don't know whether we can stop it. But the fact that we are aware of it.
We can't give up, because also, the fact is that we have to recognize the gains that we have made.
Yes. And the labor that has been
now involved. Also Kenyans, they can say feminism without looking, we are all, and this is the thing also we need to understand. We are not saying all feminists are not also into heterosexual relationship. We are feminists also into heterosexual relationship. So the point is that, and this is the thing also I've been being able to acknowledge that we will come with different ideas as women.
That's true.
But at the same time, how do we center in and say this is our oppression? You don't have to wait for you to be raped to speak against rape, or to be
No,
beaten for you to speak.
no. That is not how solidarity is
That's not
conceived.
our solidarity.
Yes.
And we have to reach at that point. You see, what are you bringing in to be able to ensure, like, we are fighting for justice. We are fighting to be in a space where you don't mind how you, no one will judge you on how you dress. No one will judge you, which language you speak. And it's also like some point of resistance. And that's the thing, even within organizing. And I like the way Michelle also was like last time with our feminist women human rights defenders that we are training under the project that we have
I
been
must
supported by
update
Forum
people that
Civ.
Michelle is one of our friends, very
Yeah.
close friends.
Yeah, so we were able to see on how the ladies can organize to a point of resistance. Like, why do you resist violence against women?
Yeah.
Why do you resist seeing that the media is not supporting feminist work?
Mhm.
So the moment we are able to understand what's your point of resistance, also it gives us understand why people do the work they're doing. Like the rage.
do.
Why are you
Yes.
angry? Why are you angry? Because you can do this work, we are smiling with the oppressor.
No,
No, you
no,
can't.
no.
Yeah.
I feel like I should ask you the question about, how the music industry portrays the woman and how that conversation is going. Because there are people who are like, oh, it's choice. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that is really terrible.
And I think that's another area we need to.
I feel like we need to get to that. We need to get to that question. But I would really hear like in a
music.
tiny bit, because we need to get to that.
It plays a critical role.
Okay.
Like, for example, shout out also to Fena for coming up with Pussy Power song, which we are very, very proud. At least we are happy seeing our struggle also is being put in terms of music, and also our influence with the space that she's having. But also we need to call out musicians that sing songs that are catalyzing violence.
Exactly.
Like, you remember when we're having cases of femicide, and then we'll see this, is it gengeton or is what?
Yes,
The
it's
one that's
gengeton.
saying, umekula pesa yangu. I'm like, these are the music
But
we
there are
need
also
to
women who took
report.
up. There's also women who took up and said, if Kikula fair, then you were beaten. Then perhaps you brought it to yourself.
But this is the thing I usually say, Nyambura, that makes me sad. Kwani sisi tumekuliwa fea ngapi? Mimi mbona sijai watu wamekula fea zangu?
That is true.
Not to
I mean, really.
ticket. But the point is,
did you ask Mwana Ujawawa to when you mekula fair zako?
oh,
That's a
yes.
question to ask. Oh my, yeah, that's
I've never killed anybody.
You
And
know.
most of us women, we are sponsors to many men and we don't make
That
noise.
is a perspective that women, we don't even get there because we are, it's almost made that, you had the violence coming to you. You did something that justified the violence on you. But when you ask it like that, because, I mean, women actually
It does
hold
not
up a
mean
lot of men.
because, this is the thing also public need to understand. It does not mean because I've told you, no, I don't want to have an affair with you, you have to kill me. Because also we need to look the emotional labor that comes, even me having an intimate relationship with you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I usually believe. It's my understanding as Rachel, there's never 50-50. It's usually 70-30.
That's true.
Women do 70. Because when we talk about 50-50, men usually think it's about financial. Like, you remove 50 and then I
but
remove 50.
exactly.
Which that's how it is.
It's how
But
labor is
have you ever
conceived.
calculated the emotional labor that women put?
No.
Which can now contribute to 70-30.
Yeah.
So we need to acknowledge that women do a lot when it comes to relationships, when it comes to homes and paid care work that we do in the household.
Yes.
And also when it comes to, even like now we talked about power position. The higher you go, it becomes sad. Like me being from Madare, being in these global boards, my friend, I have to work my ass off.
That is true.
For me to remain relevant, at the same time, to be able to deliver more than my people who are in the middle class or
But it's also
in
that the people you're carrying
privilege.
back at home.
And accountability,
the
my
issues
accountability
are
is
more
bigger.
complex.
Because
Yeah.
if you talk about housing rights, I also live in aluminium apartments.
Man, if you touch housing, right, we will live here, and I'm sure we are supposed to go on. Because when you touch about housing, right, it's that we have to think about housing rights being a feminist issue.
Dignity, even, and this one, let me talk
Okay.
about, even you can't have dignified sex in
Yeah,
those aluminium apartments.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about
you can't
dignified
even,
sex?
you see, this is the thing, for example, even like the way we talk even about BDSM and everything. As you scream there, someone is thinking you're being abused and doing So we need to also talk about how do we have also feminist dignity when it comes also to sex, sexuality, and pleasure. And this is also feminist work when you look in terms of intersectionality. So we can say we are touching this feminism and living this one. All of this affect our lives.
You know what?
Like even eating on a guy. Like the people expect when ukatiwe. But even me, I'll see that person, I'm like, this one, ako sawa.
I want to make moves.
Exactly.
Now we need to. I don't think there's ever a way of wrapping up a conversation with you because my God, we could. It's also because maybe it's because you're my friend, but it's also because we could go to any topic and live there. Because now I feel like we need to come back and touch about housing as a feminist issue, right? In depth, right? But thank you for putting that part. Now we're supposed to play a game where you finish my sentences.
Game.
Yes, it's just
My
10
sister.
questions. Yeah. And you're not supposed to overthink
This one will
them.
make me look stupid.
No. You will enjoy this thing. Really. It's a feminist quiz. Half feminist, half human. Okay, let's go. When I'm bored out of my mind, you will usually find me.
When I'm bored.
Yeah.
Kalokal.
Carlo. That is a good question. That's a good answer. My favorite feminist is.
I have a lot.
Just-
Michelle, Naomi, who died, Modoni. There are lots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a question to say that.
Like there are many. Like as long as
I'm so glad that I made it.
Yeah, for me, I have to be clear on this. Any woman who resists patriarchy and structure that works against women and girls, they are my favorite. And who calls out?
I hope you remember that.
Yeah.
So that even the people that are not mentioned know that.
Yeah, they need to know that.
Okay. Millennium men need to
step up.
Okay. My guilty pleasure TV show is
My
Guilty Pleasure TV.
I don't watch TV.
Oh, you don't watch? Okay. You're currently reading?
Can you guess?
It is not
Living a Feminist Life by Sarah Meadows. I borrowed it from Michelle.
Michelle, that's a very good. That's a very good book. Yeah. I'm an angry feminist when.
When you try even to intimidate me.
Okay.
And try to make my life not dignified. My friend Atutelawana.
Okay.
Because I've gone through oppression. So me, I can't atibati.
I can't even see it, man. No, it was just a question.
Ni kama like when you katia me, I'm very clear. Hapa kuna teacher the boss wewe ni. Hatuwezi pika. Kama huwezi kanyaga nje frame, kanyaga kubwa kubwa, kwa mbwa ni nje.
Kanyanga kubwa kubwa. I love my body most when. This is self-care, my girl. I love my body most when.
Now when I have makeup, now I feel great.
Oh yeah?
I feel I have a self-esteem.
Right? I mean, it's what Chimamanda said. Like lip gloss and high heels. High heels is good for a girl. When I hear a sexist joke, I
call it out.
Okay, good. Yeah. What's your worst household chore?
Washing utensils.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think me too, I guess.
But not when there's sink and there's water, I don't mind. But when I have to inama, there kwa kijiji.
With 3 basins.
With 3 basins.
So to finish our conversation, we are going to give a shout out to today's Audible African Woman. Today's Audible African Woman is Dr. Njoki Ngumi, who is one of the conveners and the founders of Strictly Silk. If you don't know what Strictly Silk is, do you want to tell us what Strictly
my friend, there's no also like feminism without dancing.
Right?
My friend.
Because pleasure is part of it.
It's part of it. And also like I really like and big up to Njoki, Dr. Njoki and the team for creating a space where women, LGBTQ, can come in a space where you will dance, have fun without worrying someone will harass you.
That is true.
And it's very important. Like we have female bodyguards, we have waitress that are women. Like everything is women co-created where you feel safe. Exactly. I wish we just have more of those spaces in Nairobi.
And I hope after COVID, or even with COVID month, there will be more editions because I can't wait to be in that space. Because I have not gone to clubs, and everyone knows me, I don't go to clubs because I don't want to have to keep fighting men. And so Strictly Silk is a gift to me and many other women.
Exactly. And very soon you're going to have also Pussy Power Festival.
Yeah?
In Madare.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, disrupting everything.
You're not telling me about some of these things.
Yeah, we're going to have Pussy Power Festival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that too. No, I think one of the things is that women have to create spaces by them in their own terms. Because I think one of the things is that we miss out for small things that you want. Like you really want to just go sit down and have a good conversation, but you can't because most spaces are curated with men in mind. So
and that's why the thing also not going with the conversation. When I say it about when I'm bored or where do I go, even for fun, it's in locals. Because you realize in these local clubs is where majority is occupied by men. And that's why also community decisions are made, even in national decision. Yeah. And that's why even for me, I take a point of resistance going to clubs. I'm like, I hear what you are chorai. And then I'm like, where is our cake?
That is true.
Yeah.
And I think when you talk about creative space, I think that's one of the things that we had in mind when we were creating the Women Leaders Hangout is where are the jobs?
Yeah.
Because we kept hearing, oh, women are not applying for these jobs. So it was about, so which company wants what woman, and how can we make sure that a woman gets that position? So I think women have to be very deliberate in creating spaces that uplift them. This has been So About the Audible African Woman, where we challenge myths about us, clap for our own, and create new realities together as Black young women. Join us on this conversation on all the platforms. We are Swaiba Podcasts on social media. Asanteni and see you soon.
Yeah.